Welcome back, boys and girls. Another beautiful day here at the garage. And we're finally working on this piece of junk a little bit. So, of course, I did a bunch of stuff and didn't film it. Jeff was hogging the camera or left it at home or whatever. So, let me give you guys a quick update on what's new. And then we'll get cracking. We got a couple things to work on here. So, in the last video, I talked about how I hated my old intercooler piping. It was one of those like cheap eBay kits with 100 different fittings and couplings and clamps and stuff. So I finally started playing with welding aluminum, so I decided to buy some aluminum pipe and have at it. So this is the cold side, I guess you would call it. And I got myself a newer blow-off valve, a nicer blow-off valve. Welded that fitting on there for it, for the V-band. It wraps around there. Intercooler. Probably end up changing intercooler, but for now it works. So then the hot side comes around, sneaks through here, and into the turbo. And I also, Jeff had a piece of a 90, a 4-inch 90, so I hacked it up and changed the angle so I could fit my air filter right here where I wanted. If you guys remember, I had the AC delete pulley over here, and I decided I hated that, so we moved the alternator around a little bit. So you can see the alternator used to be down here in this slot. You Cherokee guys know, or 4.0 guys. So what I did was I left the one piece, the one ear of it bolted in, flipped it up, and made myself a bracket that bolts to the head to hold it in place there. And I shaved off a little bit of the timing cover, a useless section of it, so it doesn't hit the belt there. Really simplifies everything in here and makes it the way I want it, so I have plenty of room to do whatever I want. I also made a new water neck, not water neck, whatever you want to call it, coming out of the water pump that feeds the heater core. I made it out of copper. We'll see how that works, just because that's what I had lying around. And now the project of the day is we're going to pull the turbo off, and we're going to get to that heater core inside and get pipe. Well, that was easy. Pulled the turbo off. Now let me show you what we got to deal with here. So, as you can see, my wastegate is pretty much blocking where the old heater core was. I already put a plate there just to seal it up before. So what I'm thinking of is I've got some room right in here, in between where the harnesses come in and the pinch weld up here. So I think I'd be able to sneak through there with my two lines. I had some molded lines with 90s on them. I'm sure you can't really see it that well. I'll pull the heater box out eventually and show you. But I'm gonna try to blast through my firewall right up in here with two holes. And I'm thinking of making some kind of bulkhead. Probably use some kind of, you know, hardware store fittings or something like that. But I want something secure in the firewall that the rubber heater hoses will not, you know, rub on and get cut. So I'm gonna start figuring it out.
Public service announcement, guys. My brother's finally working on his Cherokee again. And that brings me such great joy. And I bet it brings you guys such great joy too. Because we love Cherokees, you love Cherokees. So like and subscribe. Come on, guys. We can do better.
Check out this wicked NASCAR blow up we got from our uncle.
Pretty cool. Makes me want to subscribe too.
I went to the hardware store, bought a bunch of, you know, steel fittings. This one I modified. If you're a plumber working on gas lines, not okay, but for this, we're not getting inspection. So, what I ended up doing was I actually used 45s, and I made some nice holes in my firewall right here. It's a little bit of a cluster over here, but we're gonna make it work. It's not gonna be the prettiest thing, but it's gonna work. So these are 1/2-inch 45 steel. Ground them out, made them nice and smooth like this guy, and got them through my firewall. I tacked them in. Come on around. I'll show you what we got going in here. So it's just barb fittings in them. I just wanted something solid in my firewall, like I said before. So there it is. The heater core goes up there. We got little 90s that go to them and a couple hose clamps, and we're ready to roll. So while these guys are cooling off, I was looking at my thermostat housing here, and I really don't like how the factory rad hose comes up and over and around into the radiator. So, and I also, it needed to be like that because the alternator was sitting up here and the AC compressor and everything was all up higher. So now that I got this stuff all out of the way, I think what I'll end up doing is probably cutting this and trying to weld a piece, maybe not this piece, but we'll see, piece of aluminum onto here to get it right here. That way I can just come to my radiator and 90 in. So I think it'll be much cleaner, much easier, low profile. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but just brainstorming while this stuff cools off. So you see kind of what I'm talking about. It's pretty much like the factory setup. The factory one, the heater core is over here and obviously non-existent anymore. So it'll come out of here, run down. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but I'm a baby in the winter and I like heat. So just painted those bad boys up, threw in the barb fittings. So we're gonna let that dry a minute and move on. Start playing with this thermostat housing. So I'm gonna pull this thing off, cut it up. Jeff's making a ton of noise over here. As usual, no respect. As you can see, we took a little bit off the top. So instead of coming straight up, it's going to come out the side like that. This is cast aluminum. I don't think I've ever played around welding it, so time to play around. Well, there we have it. Got it welded up. It was a little funky welding the cast to the regular aluminum, but it worked. So we'll get some pressure in there and make sure it doesn't leak. But that pretty much wraps up the heating system. I just got to get a new hose that goes from here to the heater core, get some hose clamps on it, and it's all set up. So now that we've completed that, we can kind of wrap up the front end of this Jeep, and we'll get back, we'll move into the center section where the seats are and finish up the dash and stuff. I'm kind of working my way from the front to the back. So tune in next time and we'll keep tinkering on the turbo Jeep.